Hi, it's Terry O'Reilly here. It's great to be part of this fundraiser for the ADCC. I started my career in 1981 as a copywriter. I worked in radio station first of all, then I worked for some advertising agencies like Campbell Ewald, DDB, and finally Chiat Day when Chiat first opened in Toronto. Then I co-founded Pirate Radio in 1990, and I've been a member of the ADCC from the beginning for over 30 years. I think it was called the Art Directors Club back then when I first joined. And I hosted the ADCC Award Show for 12 years. So the ADCC has always been important to me, and I think very important to our industry. The ad industry needs the ADCC. And right now, the ADCC needs us. So I hope you can give a little during this fundraiser to save the ADCC. And while you're doing that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about radio. It's been my favorite medium from the beginning, and it's kind of a neglected category at award shows, but it's also a great category to win awards in, because there's not a lot of great radio at any given time, and so therefore there's a lot of opportunity to shine in that medium. You're really exposed as a writer on radio. In other words, it takes a really great writer to really produce great radio. So I think it's a great challenge. And I want to play you some radio commercials that are favorites of mine. Some of them are ADCC winners from past years, and some of them are some of my favorite commercials from around the world, because what I want to do is try and excite you about the concept of radio, the potential of radio. The first commercial I want to play won a gold award at the ADCC many years ago. It was written by the great Peter Byrne, and Peter had a great feel for drama. Where I could write humorous commercials very easily, drama didn't come as easy to me, and Peter Byrne was so much better at that than I was, and I always marveled at his ability to write great dramatic radio. And he wrote and oversaw a great campaign for TSN, the sports network. And the writing was great, the production was really minimal, and the things he chose to write about were very interesting. So in the spot that I'm about to play you about the NHL, he doesn't write about Wayne Gretzky. Instead, he chose to write about the guy who shadows Wayne Gretzky. His role on the team is to check Wayne Gretzky, and what an interesting role that is. So here's a great radio spot for TSN called The Shadow.
Game day, Los Angeles Forum, 2:35. He gets real quiet before games, a teammate has said. Everyone just knows to leave him alone. He has accepted the burden of the most unrewarding job in professional hockey. He's known as a shadow, a checker. Last week it was LaFontaine on Long Island. Tomorrow it will be Yzerman in Detroit. Tonight he will put his body and his reputation on the line one more time. Tonight, his universe will be the world's most prolific scoring machine, the Great One. There is no glory in his job, only a lonely, fierce pride. Tonight, as always, his achievements won't be remembered in any record book. And tonight, like every night, he won't be sharing the limelight. He will only shadow it. NHL hockey on TSN. Real life, real drama, real TV.
Such a great commercial. I wish I had written that commercial. That's how great it is. The next commercial I want to play for you was done for Playland, out of those great minds at Rethink on the West Coast. I like this commercial because there's very little dialogue in it, which is interesting. There's a lot of great sound effects in it, which is interesting. And it contains an element that I'll talk about on the other side of the commercial because I don't want to give it away now. So here's a radio commercial that won awards at the Advertising and Design Club of Canada show, and it is for Playland.
Whoa, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, this thing goes really high, doesn't it?
Hey, if you're scared, just hang on to me.
Oh.
Here we go!
Honey, snap out of it. It's embarrassing.
Sorry.
Playland now open weekends.
You gotta love the element of surprise in radio when you realize all that screaming was done by the husband and not the wife. Such a funny thing. And such a great way to handle radio with a lot of sound effects and a big surprise at the end. Such impact. Love it. This next radio commercial is one that I wrote for the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. They came to my company once with a problem. They told us that most of their subscribers were 75 plus years old. And the problem with that, of course, is mortality. So younger people, meaning people in their 40s and 50s, weren't coming in the other end of the funnel. So they had enough money for a small radio campaign and wondered if we could write something that would attract a younger audience. So I asked them to send me to 3 performances of the TSO because I had never been before, and I have a rule that a writer should never write about something that they have never held in their hands. So I went to the TSO, and I loved it. It was just a magnificent set of evenings. So after the 3rd performance, I sat down at my computer and thought, what would be an interesting way to attract a younger audience? And then it hit me that people were afraid of the TSO. And that became the basis for this campaign. This was the lead 60-second spot in a 3-spot campaign.
Someone in this city right now is facing a fear they can't seem to overcome. Fear of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. Take Louise M. of Etobicoke.
I'm afraid of clapping at the wrong time.
A common fear. Does anybody really know when a piece of classical music ends? The answer is no. Nobody really knows when a piece of classical music ends. So if in doubt, wait for the rest of the audience to applaud. That way, if we're all wrong together. Gary W. of Weston.
I once held up my lighter for an encore. I'm afraid that was wrong in hindsight.
Next time, simply stand and applaud at your seat. This universal signal for an encore involves no combustible materials. Richard B. of Mimico.
I'm afraid of Yucca-Pekka Sarastay's first name.
You're not alone. Yes, Yucca-Pekka has 4 Ks in his first name, but having Yucca-Pekka as our music director is envied the world over. Remember, fear of the TSO can be overcome by calling the Roy Thompson Hall box office for tickets or log on at tso.on.ca. The Toronto Symphony Orchestra. You should only be afraid you'll miss it.
You'll have to admire the TSO for allowing us to do that, for approving that spot and the 2 other spots in that campaign. But I think they knew that it was going to take something different to break through to people. And people paid attention to that commercial. It was very successful for the TSO because I don't think they'd ever heard language like that coming from the TSO before. And I think we struck the right tone. We used gentle humor, which was unusual for the TSO. But by using gentle humor and the soundtrack, the music track was really like a PSA track, a PSA piece of music, that we stayed within the tonal range of the TSO while still employing humor. And it was very successful for them, and I just loved writing that campaign. This next commercial is an American commercial. I played it on my radio show, and this may have got the most response of any commercial I've ever played. It makes an interesting proposition that America should take money from its defense and nuclear bomb building budgets and put it into the educational field so kids can get better educated, that America doesn't need the number of bombs it has. That's the premise of this commercial. But listen to the writing, listen to who's bringing you this commercial, who's reading the copy, and then listen to how amazing the sound effects sequence is. Here it comes.
Hi, my name is Jack Shanahan, retired Vice Admiral, U.S. Navy. I believe we can improve education in America without compromising our national security. To illustrate my point, I have some BBs here. Imagine each BB is a nuclear bomb. 1 could destroy Hiroshima 15 times over. 5 wipes out all of Russia. Now, after using those 6 bombs, this is how many the U.S. has left. By reducing our nuclear weapons, we could save billions of dollars. That money could be educating our kids. Let's get the politicians to talk about the real issues. Call 1-877-IOWA-MOM.
Such a powerful commercial, called BBs, by the way. This next one is a commercial that I wrote early in my career. When I worked at Campbell Ewald, the advertising agency, one of our biggest clients was Eastern Airlines. And I got the brief one day to write 3 radio commercials for their business travelers because Eastern at that time had the best routes from Toronto to Pittsburgh, Toronto to Philadelphia, and Toronto to Atlanta. So I had some fun with it. The commercials did quite well. They won Clio's, etc., and they won at the ADCC, which I loved. I got to record it down in Los Angeles, and you'll recognize one of the main voices in this commercial. He was the late, great Lorenzo Music, who you may remember was the voice of Garfield the cat. And if you're old like me, you'll remember him as the voice of Carlton the doorman from the Rhoda sitcom. Here is Eastern Airlines, and the spot is titled The Telegram.
This is the story of a busy entrepreneur named Norbert. He delivers singing telegrams.
Telegram.
This morning, the first one is to a Toronto businessman.
You're supposed to send 300 tubs of ice cream. Where the heck are they? It's 98 degrees down here. Your boss in Atlanta. Any reply? Okay.
Now Norbert's off to Atlanta. You see, his business depends on travel, and he depends on Eastern Airlines because they offer the only 5 direct flights to Atlanta daily.
Telegram. The ice cream was sent 3 days ago to Warehouse A. Whoops, sorry, JP, that was Warehouse B. Any reply?
Yes.
Okay.
And for people like Norbert flying back to Toronto, Eastern offers one-time check-in, advanced seat reservation, and a frequent traveler bonus program.
Telegram. Idiot Warehouse B was just declared a state of emergency. There's ice cream everywhere. P.S. You're fired. Have a nice day.
Eastern Airlines, because in business,
Telegram.
Timing is everything.
That was such a fun campaign to do and very exciting to do it in LA. That was my first trip to LA, I believe, back in 1985, maybe. Anyway, here's another commercial that I've always loved. It's for Earl's Restaurants, which is a restaurant chain, as many know, out on the West Coast. It was done by a West Coast advertising agency. And I just love the situation. I love the casting. I love the dialogue. Everything about it just makes me laugh. And this commercial is titled Delivery Guys.
Earl's presents the joys of eating at home. Delivery Guys.
Hello?
Pizza guy.
Come on in. Hello?
Pizza guy.
Where are you?
Downstairs.
Well, I'm buzzing you.
It's not working.
You have to pull it
What's
open.
that?
No, pull it.
Push.
No, wait till I buzz. What are you doing?
Pizza guy.
Are you...
Earl's. You could eat at home, but why?
I've always loved that commercial. It's not just well acted and well written, it's very well directed. Whoever directed that commercial and assembled that commercial really knew what they were doing. That's a beautifully produced radio commercial. Here's another of my favorite commercials. It's from the States. It's American. It's for probably a long-gone .com company called ourhouse.com, where you could get things for home renovations via the internet. And listen to how real this conversation feels. The situation's really silly, but very funny. But just listen to how loose the dialogue is, because dialogue is usually meant to be really tight on radio. But this writer and this director chose to make it very loose, which made it feel very real. And the sound around the voices feels like you're literally in a home. There's something special about the ambiance in this commercial. And just the funny writing. So here is Garbage Disposal.
Honey?
In here, hon.
What are you doing?
I fixed it.
You fixed what?
The garbage disposal.
Get out.
I'm serious.
Get out.
You get out.
You really fixed it? What was wrong with it?
I don't know.
Did you even try it?
Here, watch.
Is that my good celery?
No, just flip the switch.
I won't get shocked or
just
anything?
Flip it.
Oh, wait, hold on. Someone's at the door.
No, that's the garbage disposal. Flip it again. Okay, how cool is that?
Hon, you said you fixed the garbage disposal.
It is fixed.
But, hon...
Wait, don't say anything yet. Come with me to ring the doorbell.
Tools, advice, house calls, sanity. Everything you need to fix up your house or have it done for you. Ourhouse.com. We're here to help.
Partnered with Ace.
Such a funny commercial. Such brilliant casting and just very, very loose dialogue and very loose writing, but it just all worked. Here's another one in that campaign just because it was so good. And this one's called Sprinkler System.
Hey, honey.
Hi, sweetie.
Were you doing something to the lawn?
Yeah, I put in a sprinkler system.
What?
I put in a sprinkler system.
Well, when did you do that?
Today.
But how... Really?
Yeah.
I would have done that.
Oh, that's okay. It was kind of fun.
Does it work?
What?
Nothing. You know, those trenches have to be at least 10 inches deeper and the pipes will freeze.
Yeah, I know. They're 17.
Well, don't use my conditioner, okay?
I'm not.
Tools, materials, advice, sanity. ourhouse.com. We're here to help.
Partnered with Ace.
So very, very funny. Here is one of these commercials that I've always admired because of the number of products it squeezes into 60 seconds. You know, there are some clients that come across our collective desks where they have a need to create an idea that can hold many products. In other words, you're not just advertising one single-minded product, but many. When I look on television, I think the Canadian Tire campaign is one of those ideas where they had to create a character or a situation that could hold multiple products over time. Well, here's a radio commercial for Staples that lists, I can't remember, I once counted it, I can't remember if it was over 30 different products in a single 60-second commercial. And by the end of the commercial, you will have wished there were more products in it. And this one is titled Teacher.
Staples has everything you need to go back to school.
I'm Ms. Kupelmacher, and I hope you're all prepared for math.
Notebooks.
Advanced geometry.
Protractor graph paper notebooks.
Here's your syllabus.
Wastebasket.
And your textbooks.
7-gallon wastebasket.
You're expected to read every word.
Highlighter.
There will be homework.
Folders.
Lots of homework.
Book bag.
Tons of homework.
Hand truck.
And there will be pop quizzes.
Pencils.
Every week.
Pencil sharpener.
And a final examination.
Calculator.
There will be no calculators.
Small calculator.
I expect your work to be neat.
Whiteout.
Organized.
Paper clips.
And legible.
300-dot resolution laser printer.
I will not tolerate tardiness.
Alarm clock.
And don't forget.
Post-it notes.
You can easily be removed from this class.
Thank you notes. Staples has everything you need to go back to school. The guaranteed low price on over 5,000 items. Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
This next commercial I did not write. I did direct it. I've always loved this commercial because it did something that's very hard to do on radio. And it's a promotional contest commercial. And usually in those kind of radio commercials, there's so many contest rules and stipulations and regulations and dates that you have to get something in by that it's just gobbledygook and there's no room for creativity. But the writer of this commercial did something very funny. First of all, it's for Imodium, which is a very funny product to advertise. And he had a very tough challenge in front of him until he came up with the line, "There's never been a better time to have diarrhea." Because it's all about Imodium, which is for diarrhea, of course. And you could win $10,000 or a trip to Banff Springs. So there's never been a better time to have diarrhea. I'm going to play this spot now. Then I'm going to tell you a funny story on the other end of it. Here it comes.
Hi, Sammy. Boy, that's the 4th time this morning he's gone to the bathroom.
But why does he look so happy?
There's never been a better time to have diarrhea, because now when you buy Imodium, you can also pick up the Health and Wealth Sweepstakes booklet with $15 of valuable health coupons and a chance to win a trip for 4 to the Banff Springs Hotel or $10,000 cash from the makers of Tylenol and other fine products.
Hey, Sammy.
You want to join us for lunch?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, guys. We gotta run!
Boy, I wish I had diarrhea.
Me too.
Hurry, details in store.
So that commercial started running across the city, and on Q107 in particular, the rock station in Toronto, they loved the commercial and they edited out the line, "There's never been a better time to have diarrhea." And then they just dropped it into their show over the course of multiple days. So, for example, in the middle of hearing Stairway to Heaven, you would suddenly hear, "There's never been a better time to have diarrhea." And then the song would just keep going. They would just airdrop that silly line across their programming for probably a week. It was just the funniest thing. And it made that little 30-second spot become famous because it had such an uptake with that silly line. And the other interesting thing about that commercial is one of the voices, the guy that says, "I wish I had diarrhea," was none other than Homer Simpson. That's Dan Castellaneta doing that role, who was a lot of fun to work with. Anyway, a fun little spot for Imodium. Now, while there was a lot of screaming in that funny spot for Imodium, there are times when you can be very quiet on radio and still gain a lot of attention because you are quiet. But it takes a special kind of writing and a special kind of idea to be able to pull this off. Here's a spot for a ski equipment store called Gordo's, and they very quietly talk about something that happens to a lot of skiers and how they can help solve the problem. And this commercial is called Snow Down the Crack.
As a ski patrol emergency medic, I've seen it all. And the thing I encounter the most, year after year, is snow down the crack. This occurs when a snowboarder is sitting in the snow trying to get in or out of their bindings. In this position, snow easily gets into the backside of their pants, and in a matter of seconds, they've got snow down the crack. Oftentimes, a victim, unable to bear the pain, will scream out, "I've got snow down my crack." It's so frustrating because there's nothing you can do. You just have to wait it out and hope for the best. The good news is it's completely avoidable. By simply going to Gordo's snowboard store in the Maple Hill Mall in Kalamazoo, you can buy external high-back step-in bindings for only $149. So call Gordo at 349-8238 and see what he can do for you this winter, and bring an end to the senseless pain and anguish of snow down the crack.
Quietly hilarious. This next spot is one that I wrote for Ray-Ban sunglasses. They came to us wondering if they could actually sell sunglasses on radio, meaning they weren't sure if it was the right medium for them because they see themselves as a fashion accessory and that you have to see them to want them. And I said, I think you can actually sell Ray-Ban on radio because you're always selling how people feel, and feeling something is easily relayed on radio. So I wrote this commercial for them. It is the least amount of copy I have ever written in a commercial. It contains the least amount of words I've ever been able to pull off in a commercial. And it's quiet. Like the Gordo spot, this is dramatic. This is the best dramatic spot I've probably ever written because I wasn't very good at them, as I said earlier. But it is a quiet 30, and by being quiet, it got a lot of attention. It's for Ray-Ban.
She spoke with a little girl's voice, but when she moved, she cut a silhouette that brought Hollywood and the world to its knees. On film, she was predatory. In public, she hid behind dark glasses, not to shield Marilyn from the flashbulbs. She wore them to protect Norma Jean. Ray-Ban, wear them. Wear the legend.
Okay, let's change gears a bit. This next campaign, I'm going to play one spot from this campaign, was for National Thoroughbred Horse Racing. And I have always said that in radio, and almost any medium, of course, but in radio, if you could create a sound that the client can own, can you create a sound, not just a mnemonic, not just 5 seconds at the end of the commercial? I'm talking about the sound of the entire commercial could only be owned by that client. And I think that's such a huge achievement when that is done. And this is a perfect example of that. I love this campaign so much that when I was a judge at the Cannes Radio Awards, at the Cannes Festival rather, the first year that radio was actually allowed into the Cannes Festival, which was 2005, I tried to swing the jury to give this campaign the Grand Prix in radio. I wasn't successful. Bud Light, Mr. Bad Toupee Wearer, that great campaign won again for about the 5th year in a row. But I really wanted that year to be about National Thoroughbred Horse Racing. Like I say, it ended up getting the second best award of the night. But I thought it was good enough to be the Grand Prix winner. But here it is. Just listen to how great this commercial sounds for this particular client.
And they're off. Out of the gate, it's get up early and walk the dog. Here comes do the laundry and wash the dishes. Out of nowhere comes call from mom, followed by nagging and guilt trip. It's nagging, it's guilt trip, it's guilt trip, it's nagging, and nagging is relentless. But wait, it looks like walk the dog has a little left in him. Now it's walk the dog, followed by watch TV. It's watch TV all alone. But here comes take a nap. Wait a minute, I don't believe it. It's call from mom. She just won't go away. And in the end, it's another boring Saturday.
For a better time, go to the track. National Thoroughbred Racing. We bet you love it.
Such great writing. And that horse track announcer read, which could only be owned by a horse track. Everything about that commercial and that campaign, and there were many spots in that campaign, were great. I just loved it. Here is an interesting commercial. It's the oldest one I'm going to play for you today because I think it was done in the 70s by famous ad people, Bert Burtis, and his partner. They just did such great work. And it's for a retail furniture sale, which is interesting because that's not like the most exciting brief. So it's for Dayton's warehouse sale. But listen to just how funny the casting is. And the other voice, one's Bert Burtis, the other one's Dick Orkin. And Dick Orkin had maybe one of the greatest radio voices of all time. And he plays Shirley in this commercial, as you'll find out in a second. But it's a retail spot, for starters. And it lists, the sale and all the pertinent information and everything, all the appliances and furniture that'll be for sale. But it still wraps it up in a great idea with a great performance. And here it is.
And so, Shirley, welcome to the stenographic pool.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions?
Yes. May I be excused to go to Dayton's fabulous warehouse sale?
Mr. Shirley, you've only been with the firm 5 minutes.
Well, I know, but Dayton's has this big sale.
No.
Appliances, furniture.
No, just get to work, Shirley.
Right.
Yes, what?
Sir, I forgot. My sister is getting, married. So can I go
No. You're going to Dayton's warehouse sale.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir.
Shirley, get to your short end.
Okay. Sir.
Yes?
I don't want to panic you or anything, but I think an earthquake is due any second, so could I...
No. What now?
Oh, I think my appendix is back. Oh, my son.
Mr. Shirley, the only way you're going to get out of here to go to Dayton's fabulous warehouse sale is by being fired, understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Fathead.
You're fired.
Thank you. You won't regret this, sir.
While Bud Light did a lot of great commercials in the U.S., there were some really great commercials done up here in Canada for Bud Light. And one of my favorites is called Conversational Landmine Detector. And it's a spot about how to detect landmines in conversations with your wife. Because, of course, the target for these commercials were men, were husbands. So just listen to the writing in this. It's just so funny. And all the little bits that happen inside this commercial. And the use of sound effects is also great. So here is Bud Light with Conversational Landmine Detector.
It's no secret that the more time you spend in the doghouse with your spouse, the less time you spend with your buddies. And often, men get themselves into trouble without the slightest inclination of the potential consequences. That's why we've developed the Bud Light Conversational Landmine Detector. At any sign of impending relationship danger, an alarm will sound.
Honey?
Yes, dear?
Did you miss me when I was gone?
Once you hear the alarm, you make an excuse and get out of the room as quickly as possible.
Darn, I think my kidney just imploded. I gotta go.
Our programmers have spent months ensuring that the widest range of conversational landmines were covered.
Don't you like my mother? Does this dress make me look fat? What color are my eyes? Do you find my sister attractive? You do know what day it is, don't you? Do you ever think of anyone else when we make love?
Remember, a healthy relationship leads to more trust, more understanding, and most important, more golf with your friends. Now this calls for a Bud Light.
One last commercial I want to play you today or this evening. This was for Irving Oil out on the East Coast. They have service stations, of course, and then they have convenience stores in the Irving stations. And this was a promotional spot, not unlike the Imodium spot, where when you filled up with gas and you went in to pay the gas bill at the counter, they'd give you a little thing, a scratch and win, and you could win lots of prizes. And there were big prizes like motorcycles and boats and things of that nature. But there were thousands of little prizes like, packages of gum and a bottle of water and a bag of cheesies. So the advertising agency, which was Target, the brilliant Target out in St. John's, Newfoundland, they asked for the list of winners, of actual winners, who only won the small prizes, like a bottle of water or a package of gum. And then we actually called them up live and treated them like they just won $1 million. And we just listened for their reaction. And the person doing the calling is the wonderful, the great Kathy Greenwood. But here it is. This is for Irving Mainway Convenience Stores for their promotion. And this commercial is called Randall.
Hello?
Hi, Randall. It's Kathy calling from Irving Mainway's Cruisin' to Win contest.
Yes.
And I hear that you won something last week.
Yes, I did.
What'd you win?
Oh, just a bottle of some kind of juice.
Some kind of juice. Oh, that's fabulous. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Randall. Have you won anything before this?
No, I haven't.
This is the first time, and you hit it big with the juice.
Yeah.
Randall, did you share the juice?
No, I didn't.
You just gulped it right down.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Irving Mainway's Cruisin' to Win contest with 3 ways to win. Instant win, enter to win, and collect to win with great prizes like an RV, mountain bikes, and yes, even orange juice. Now that you've won, are you still going to work, Randall?
Oh, I'm retired.
So this is just an added bonus then for your retirement.
Yeah.
Cruisin' to Irving Mainway and Cruisin' to Win. No purchase necessary. See in store for details.
Such a funny campaign that ran for a couple of years until it got so popular on the East Coast that we couldn't do it anymore because all the people were too aware of Kathy and the phone calls. They were too ready for the calls. But anyway, there you go. Some of my favorite radio commercials that I've had something to do with, other ones, American ones that I've loved, and other ADCC winners that I wish I had done that have been done over the years. So thanks for listening. And thanks for not having anything to look at. But I thought, you know what, it's radio, so we'll do it with audio. And don't forget to give a little bit back to help save the ADCC because the Advertising Design Club of Canada needs your help today. So give where you can. Thanks a lot.